Hello, it's so great to have you here. I'm really excited that you are watching this video because that means that you are ready for some growth. So, I want to start off by telling you a little bit about my experience of being pregnant. Now, if you have been pregnant yourself and if you have grown a child to full term, or at least close to full term, then you may be able to relate to this story. So, what I can really remember, I've only had one daughter, so I don't know if this happens in like subsequent pregnancies or not, but I've only had one child. What I can really distinctly remember is this feeling of like my stomach feeling so stretched and feeling so uncomfortable and feeling like this can't go on. I can't possibly stretch any more than this. And I remember I had this thick band that I used to have to wear to support my bump, just to kind of like brace it and to be able to take the weight and that sort of relieved some of the discomfort. And that would go on for like maybe 2 or 3 days. And then what I noticed is like, oh, I'm not feeling uncomfortable anymore. My stomach feels comfortable now. It's obviously got used to its new size. And then give it another week or two, and that same like really uncomfortable, stretched feeling would come back. The need to wear that supportive belt would come back. The feeling of like, oh my goodness, I just can't, like, it can't get any bigger would come back. And I can't remember the exact length of time this went on for, but this feeling of being overstretched and then it being comfortable again went on for, but I'd say 3 months or so, but it may well have been longer than that. So, if you've had a baby, you may be able to relate to that experience. Now, perhaps you haven't had a baby, maybe you're male, maybe you haven't had a child yet, or haven't had one through pregnancy. So there are other experiences that you may be able to relate to where you have had the experience of like being uncomfortable, but then becoming comfortable. So another example from my life that I can use is several years ago, about 15 years or so ago, I was involved in a bike ride. It was like a charity bike ride in South America. So we started in Argentina, we did some cycling around Argentina, and we finished the ride in Chile, which meant that halfway through, it's like a 6 day ride. On I think it's third or fourth day, we had to actually go across the Andes. And I knew while I was preparing to go on this ride that on one of the days there was a 19-kilometer continuous uphill cycle and it was going to be a steep hill. Now, I live in Hadley in Essex, and there are no 19-kilometre hills around here, but there is one reasonably sized hill called Essex Way, if you know the area. It connects Hadley to Benfleet, South Benfleet. So what I used to do is I'd go out for my long bike rides, my sort of training, and then I'd go that way and I'd go down an adjacent hill and then I'd come back up Essex Way. And the first time I did it, I think I got maybe 75% of the way up and I just couldn't go any further. So I got off my bike and I pushed my bike the rest of the way to the top of the hill. Did, the rest of a bike ride elsewhere. Next time I came back to do that hill again, and on my way up, I actually wanted to give up sooner, if I'm honest. I wanted to get off my bike about halfway up, but then I remembered, no, hang on, I know how far I got to last time. I must be able to get that far because I've done it before, like my body's physically done it before, so I'll get to there. And when I got to that point, I realised, oh, actually, I've still got a bit in the tank. I'll keep going a bit further and see how far I can get. And I did manage to make it all the way up the hill on the second time. And then because I'd done the whole hill by that point, like I didn't have the option to then add a bit more. So all I could do in future bike rides was actually go around and do it again. But that becomes tedious. So in my training, all I was really doing was I'd do that hill about 3 times and then I'd go off and cycle somewhere else and look for another couple of hills. But there weren't really that many other ones that were that big. So when it actually came to that day, crossing from Argentina to Chile, I didn't have that much experience of knowing what I was going to be able to do on that ride. And to be fair, if I'd stopped, if I got off and pushed my bike, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. But the way that the hill was, like the geographical way the hill was laid out, was that there were lots of bends, and not one of the stretches of road where I was able to see ahead of me was longer than the hill that I already knew that I could climb. So each time I got to one of these bends and I'd look and see what was next, I think, right, all I've got to do is get to that bend. And then I'd set off and cycle that bend. And I just did it at a nice pace that was comfortable for me. I get to that bend, look at where the next bend was. Oh, okay, that's, I know I can do that distance. And so it was like I was doing the Essex Way Hill just over and over and over again. And I did manage to do that whole 19-kilometre uphill climb without stopping, without having to get off and push, because I just did it in those little bits that I knew I could do that bit. So if I can do that bit, then I'll do that bit. And then, oh, I can do that bit, so I'll do it again. So it was the way that it was broken down in my mind made it possible for me to do something which was way beyond anything that I had achieved physically before. And I am not, I am not some kind of I do love exercise, but I'm not one of those people who's like constantly down the gym, always smashing their fitness. If anything, I do far less than I really would like to be doing. But just, this is just to illustrate a point. Whether if you're somebody who likes to use weights to work out and if you're trying to build muscle mass, then you will know that you need to exercise beyond the point of discomfort in order to see the growth in muscle that you would like to see. So with the pregnancy, there was discomfort, there was stretch because there was growth going on. With the bike ride, there was, it was getting comfortable doing one thing and knowing that if I just keep repeating that, I know I can do that because I've done it and I've got through that discomfort once. So I know I can do that. So I just need to do that again, just repeat it again. And when it comes to growing muscle mass, you know that the saying is literally no pain, no gain. So we've all heard that, right? So we know that when it comes to exercise and when it comes to physical growth, that some pain is involved because there's some stretch going on. I mean, I can also remember having growing pains growing up. I don't know if you can relate to that at all. So we know when it comes to the physical that there is some discomfort involved when it comes to growth. Well, guess what happens when it comes to personal growth? That's right, there is some discomfort involved. And why is that? Well, it's because you're stretching. So if you're wanting to grow in a personal way, so if you're wanting to do something which is different to anything you've ever done before, so whether that's in your business, whether that's in your life, like where it might come to changing some habits, like it might come to relationships, but whatever area of your life it is in, if you're wanting to achieve growth, that means you're going to have to do something which you're not familiar with. So you either haven't done it before or you haven't done it very much, and that is uncomfortable. And why is it uncomfortable? Well, the simple reason for that is that our brains are hardwired to seek familiarity, right? So if we think back to the days of our cave ancestors, the ones who stuck to what was familiar were the ones who had the best survival rate, right? So the ones who were more willing to take risks, more willing to do things that nobody else had done before or that they didn't know what the outcome was going to be, their survival rate was lower, right? So as a species at that time, the ones of us who were more risk averse, more considered in what we were doing, and would rather do what we knew was already safe. The ones who would do the familiar things were the ones who had a better survival rate. So that was the wiring in the brain that was passed on. So it was passed on like genetically, but it was also passed on as a behavioural tactic that was taught, and passed down through the lineage, from the elder to the younger. So that is how our brains are still wired today. So whilst we don't have to worry about mountain lions or other tribes nowadays, our brains are still wired to be more comfortable with the familiar. So in the caveman times, if something unfamiliar was going on, then your body would be releasing adrenaline, getting you ready for fight or flight. Right, so because you've got something intense now, you've got to deal with it. It's unfamiliar. You don't know how it's going to go, so you're unsure. You're pumped. You're ready to have to, do something to save your own life or the life of others if it comes to it. And so that's the reaction that your body's having. So our bodies actually have that reaction when we're looking to do something that's just unfamiliar, and it might just be as unfamiliar as being visible on social media about this particular business, or it might be like reaching out to somebody that knows you in a different way about something that you're doing at the moment. So these are the kinds of things that our brain waves the red flag of, oh, this is unfamiliar, it might not be safe. Very, very different to what our cave ancestors were feeling unsafe about, but it's the same reaction, it's the same thing that's going on. Okay, so that's why it happens. Now, have you ever had a time when you have been worried about doing something because you don't know how it's going to go? And maybe you've been putting it off. Maybe you have been procrastinating, doing all the other things, doing all the easy things that you can think of, and just putting it last. But then when you finally came round to it, when you finally couldn't put it off any longer, like maybe there was a deadline there that you just had no choice but to do it, or maybe you just run out of run out of procrastinating activities and it's like, right, okay, well, I'm just going to have to get it done now. And when you actually came to do it, you found that, oh, actually, this is a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Or you just did it and then were able to just forget about it and just walk away. So your brain made it your brain made it feel like it wasn't safe because it was unfamiliar. So it's waved this red flag. We, as a culture, have been taught to avoid uncomfortable emotions. Like you think back to childhood, and anytime when you experience uncomfortable emotions, like more often than not, the adult caregivers who are around you were also uncomfortable with you experiencing those uncomfortable emotions. So would have said something like, "Oh, don't cry," or "Oh, don't worry," or sort of like, "Come on, it'll be fine." And we wouldn't have really actually allowed ourselves to explore those emotions. So we have been taught to avoid the emotions. So we think that that means that then we need to avoid the activity. But when we actually come to do the activity, turns out it's fine and we can handle it. Like, can you relate to that? I'm sure that you can. I'm sure you've had that experience many times. So our brains attempt to divert us away from unfamiliar things by making them uncomfortable. But here's the secret when it comes to personal growth. Discomfort is the portal to growth, right? But we don't get taught that. It's like a secret. It's like we set off on this path to personal growth and we start reading all these books and it's like, oh yeah, this is really empowering and I feel really good. I feel really pumped. And then when we actually go to do the things, suddenly we're like, oh, actually, this is uncomfortable. Or we get a reaction from somebody that we weren't expecting. Oh, that's uncomfortable. And because we experience discomfort and because our brains are wired to keep us away from discomfort, we're like, "Ugh," and then we back right off. We back away from the discomfort. But the discomfort is there because there is a stretch going on. And just like when my body was growing my baby, the discomfort, the stretch was happening because there was growth going on. Now, when you're pregnant, you don't have the option to go, oh, right, I'm just going to back away from this. Like it's happening. In personal growth, in business growth, in whatever kind of growth it may be, you've that choice to back away from it is there. And that's what we tend to do. We tend to then do the avoidant behavior. We tend to distract ourselves, make excuses as to why we can't do it now, and then just leave it. But discomfort is the portal for growth. So leaning into the discomfort is where the growth will happen. Leaning into the discomfort of getting up this hill is actually on my bike is quite painful, but I'm just going to keep going a little bit further and see how much further I can get today. Oh, it turns out I can get to the top. And then the next time, oh, I did that here, it was really uncomfortable. I'm just going to see, can I do it a second time? Oh, it turns out I can. And all I did was lean into discomfort, just like not shy away from the discomfort of the bike ride. And that's all we need to do is not shy away from the discomfort. Now, I know that's easier said than done. So we will be doing a meditation shortly to help you to get familiar with leaning into the discomfort. There's actually another secret that you need to know about discomfort and when it comes to personal growth. And that is that there is some kind of lie going on within that discomfort. There's some kind of story happening below the surface where we have, in some way, attached the idea that I might not be okay if I do this thing. And we're we might not be thinking about it at a conscious level, but somewhere underneath the surface is some kind of lie. And I'm just gonna put a disclaimer in there before we go any further. If you're feeling uncomfortable because you are standing at the top of a diving board and it's a 10-meter drop into a pool full of piranhas and you feel a bit unsure about doing it and you actually feel like maybe you just won't do it, you just back off. Like, yeah, we have to use common sense here as well. Or common sense, I don't even know if common sense is the right word, but like due diligence, physical safety, like sometimes when there's discomfort, it's because actually we need to take care physically to make sure that we are safe. But when I'm talking personal growth here, like there's some kind of story going on around what might it mean for me if I do this thing that I'm not going to like. Like, what could happen here that's going to mean that could mean to me that I'm not okay? Because that will be there's room there for you to grow by questioning it. So, if for instance you're planning to, you had something that you wanted to put on social media, and you wanted to put a post about your amazing business, your amazing product, your amazing opportunity, and as you start to go to do it, you start to become more and more uncomfortable. Now, you won't necessarily be hearing these thoughts in your head, but somewhere in there, there will be the discomfort of what will people think of me if I put this out there? All these people think this of me, and then that might change. And we can trace it. We could like really unpick it. If I had like half an hour to sit with you and question you over it, we'd probably get down to your brain would probably have some kind of like catastrophizing structure where it would end up with you having no friends and becoming a social pariah and living in the woods on your own with nothing to eat, or something along those lines. So the brain, again, it's like it's a learnt response. So it's learnt something that we learnt in childhood is we learnt to keep our caregivers happy. So we don't want to do things which are going to upset people or make people think badly of us because we then might not be okay. Like our survival is dependent upon, it felt like our survival was dependent upon our caregivers like wanting to look after us. So if they were unhappy with us and something that we've done, and as a child, you probably did something once that was like unexpected. Your caregiver reacted to it in a negative way. You were taken aback by their reaction because what you had done had been like really innocent and vulnerably done. And then it was like, whoa, hang on a minute, that I don't feel safe because my caregiver is showing their displeasure, showing their unhappiness, and I'm dependent upon this person to keep me warm, fed, clothed, safe, like with locking doors or windows and so on and so forth. So that would have happened at some point in childhood, possibly multiple times. So as an adult, our brain has got this neural connection with somebody might be displeased with something that I do, I am not safe. Okay, so in childhood, it probably wasn't even really that true then, but in childhood it felt very true. And so we had to adapt and we had to do things in order to please those who were looking after us because we were vulnerable then. But we're adults now. And if Joe blogs down the pub sees your social media post about your amazing business opportunity that you want to share with the world, and they think, oh God, can't believe that person's posting about that. Oh, I don't really want to be friends with them anymore. Let me ask you a question. First of all, if somebody is that offended by something that you're posting, are they somebody that you like really want to be friends with anyway? And would somebody that you're really friends with see a post that you have put? I'm just sticking with this social media post example for now, but would they see a post that you have put and not like it, and then that then affect their overall opinion of you? Somebody who is really truly your friend. The answer to that is no, is it? Like you might see one of your friends post something, you think, oh, that's unusual to what they normally post. And then that's probably as much thought as you give it. You probably don't give it any more thought than that at all. So this is just kind of like one example, but what I'm trying to point out to you is that somewhere within your discomfort is probably some kind of lie about what the possible outcomes of whatever it is that, this piece of growth that you're trying to do could mean for you. So it can be really helpful to notice that there's a lie and to like question it. So to actually ask yourself the question, what is it that I'm believing here which isn't 100% true? Okay, so that really simple question, what is it that I'm believing here that isn't 100% true, can really help to highlight the lie within what you are believing, because it will be at a subconscious level, but feel into it. The next question you can ask yourself is, if what I am believing is true, what would be the worst thing about that? Why would that be a problem? And to then explore like what are the levels that this could go to. And then you can then follow that up with the question, and how would I deal with that if that did happen? So that you can then show yourself your own resilience, right? So the things that we feel uncomfortable about in life, the things that we worry about, the things we feel anxious about are usually future scenarios that don't actually play out the way that we expect them to. And when they happen, they're absolutely fine. The things that happen that we haven't worried about, we deal with them, right? So we might be a bit shocked, we might be a bit stressed, but we just get on and deal with it. We find our resilience, we find our resourcefulness in that moment. So to ask that question of yourself is pointing you back to your own resilience rather than it being like a future, like, oh, I don't know what I do in this scenario, which is going to have the potential to have you feeling that discomfort and wanting to then avoid that activity. So, in a nutshell, discomfort is a good thing. Discomfort is that portal for growth. If there's no discomfort, there's no stretch going on. If there's no stretch going on, there's no growth going on. If you aren't experiencing any discomfort whilst you're looking to undertake personal growth, then perhaps a useful meditation or a bit of journaling for you will be to question, where am I being called to stretch that I'm not currently stretching myself? So actually like lean into it and look for it. Now I'm going to guide you through a meditation very shortly where we are going to look at both the person that you want to be and what needs to happen for you to get there. So that will help you to find what are the activities, like what are the actual things that you need to do to move the needle to get you where you want to go. And then from there, we are going to do a little bit of work on leaning into that discomfort, feeling the discomfort, allowing it to be there, allowing it to be processed so that you can then grow through it. So, if you could just get yourself nice and comfortable. So, sit with your feet placed on the ground, ideally sitting upright, and just take a few slow, deep breaths. Close your eyes and really settle into your body. So imagine that there is a cord of energy running from the base of your spine down into the center of the earth. Think of that as your grounding cord. Think of that as being a part of you which connects you with the earth. Now visualize that grounding cord expanding to the width of your hips. And now, as you breathe in, see yourself as breathing in fresh oxygen, fresh energy. And as you breathe out, see yourself letting go of anything which isn't serving you down that grounding cord into the earth. Now, whether you can see it or not doesn't matter, it's the intention that's important here. Intention is an energy. And what we're looking to do is energetically let go of things that are not serving you. And the things that aren't serving you are also energy. So breathe in fresh energy, release unhelpful and unwanted energy down into the earth. Just take a few more deep breaths like that. So while you are settling in, you are going to be taking on the identity of the creator, which of course you are. But you are going to be stepping into the future version of yourself who has already created what you would desire to create. So shortly, and I will guide you through it, you're going to imagine yourself drawing a golden circle, and within that circle exists future you who has already achieved what you are seeking to achieve. So what we're going to do, see yourself now. So see yourself drawing a golden circle in front of you. So maybe you imagine that you've got a golden paintbrush or a pen, or perhaps you can just do it with your finger and you create a magical golden circle in front of you. In that circle exists future you who has already made everything that you're desiring in your business or in your personal life. They've already made it happen. This already exists because it does. It already exists in time and in space. So all we're going to do today is collapse the distance between where you are and that time. So in a moment, I'm going to count you down from 3 to 1, and then you're going to step into that circle. And as you do, you're going to embody that person, that version of you in the future. So 3, 2, 1. See yourself passing through the wall of that golden circle. And as you are, your energy is cleansed. So anything that you're bringing with you from present day just simply gets cleansed and left behind. And you step into that future reality, into that version of yourself who has already achieved what you're desiring. And see yourself merging with that body now. And just notice what's obvious. Notice how you feel. Notice what it's like. Just take it all in and feel the gratitude that you would undoubtedly feel when that happened. Just enjoy that. Just breathe into it and just like see your body flooded with light as you enjoy merging with that future version of you. You're just going to step back out of that circle again, back to where you started. And now to the left of that circle, draw another golden circle. And this is your current day reality. So in a moment, I'll count you down. You can step into that circle. 3, 2, 1. Step into that circle, and that is your current day reality as it compares to the future one that you have just been in. So just see where you are at, the honest truth of where you're at in relation to where you would like to go. And just notice what there is to notice. See what's going on. See what you're doing. Just see what it's like. Just notice it all. And then just step back out again, back to where you were when you started. So in a moment, we're going to step back into that future version again, that your desired reality, where it's already manifested, and reconnect with the version of you who has already achieved all this. So 3, 2, 1, going back in through the wall of that golden circle, that gold energy cleansing and leaving behind anything which doesn't belong in that future reality, merging with that version of you. And this time you're going to look back across to the current day reality, notice that, and then see what is the bridge between that place and where you are now. So what needs to happen? What are the things that you need to do? And I'm just going to go quiet to give you a moment to notice them. It might be one thing, it might be several things. When we finish this meditation in a little while, you're going to make a note of what these things are, but you will remember them. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is step back out of that circle, back to where you were when you started, but bringing with you the awareness of the things that you need to do to get you from current reality to the reality of your creation, the future reality that you are is already manifest. We just need to get you there. So with your awareness of what the things are that you need to do that are the bridge, I want you to feel into any discomfort you have around doing those things. Okay, so just hold in your mind the idea of doing them and then notice in your body any discomfort that is there. So just have a little look around, almost like you're sort of welcoming it, like it's a shy little mouse perhaps, and you're just going, no, it's okay, I know you're there, just let me see you. Okay, now this is important. This willingness to meet our discomfort is such an important part of our growth. Because when we're willing to meet it, when we're willing to get to know it and work with it, then we're not resisting it. We're not pushing it down. We're not ignoring it. We're not going to get caught out by it unexpectedly further down the line. Okay, so feel into that, still with your eyes closed. really feeling into your body and noticing that bit of discomfort wherever it is, wherever it's lurking or lingering in your energy field. So once you've found it, start to really pay attention to what it's like. It's like imagine that you're meeting it for the first time. Maybe you'd see it as a guest in your house, like maybe it's you're on another planet and it's the first life form that you found there. It's explore it with curiosity. Does it have a shape? Does it have a color? Does it have a name? And don't try and think of a name, just like be aware, does it have a name? Like let one come up if there is one. Does it have any noise or any movement? Does it have any temperature? Just become aware of it. Just become aware of all of the different attributes that uncomfortable feeling has. As the observer, that discomfort is very welcome there. And you're just going to watch it and observe it like an experiment, like a curious child watching and observing and seeing what happens to that discomfort next. Notice how those attributes that you spotted are starting to change. They're starting to reduce. The colours becoming less vivid. The shape is becoming less bold and smaller. The movement is becoming softer and slower and more gentle. The temperature is becoming more normal. Everything, all of those attributes about it are slowly and gradually diminishing as that uncomfortable emotion is processed. Because all that discomfort is its energy. And by allowing it to be there and observing it, we're allowing the energy to go into motion. Emotion, energy in motion. And so by allowing the energy of that discomfort to be there and to be moving, you're allowing it to process, and the energy can then change form. So once that discomfort has changed significantly and diminished significantly, then take your awareness, take your attention instead into your heart space, so into the center of your chest, and notice a tiny spark there. So this might be a spark of life, it might be a spark of love, perhaps for somebody in your life, perhaps for yourself. It might be excitement, or it might be possibility. It could be any of those things. And now breathe into it, breathe into that spark. And as we know, when we add oxygen to a flame, to a spark, to fire, that fire can grow. So breathe oxygen into your heart area. So again, this is an intention. It doesn't matter whether or not you can see it, whether you can visualize it or not. Have the intention of breathing that energy, that oxygen, into that spark, into that flame, and allowing that flame of life, that flame of love, that flame of passion and excitement to grow. And see the light coming off it and feel the warmth coming off it, and allow that to spread throughout your whole body, and allow that to spread even beyond your body into the area around you if you wish. So this is the flame of your passion and your excitement. This is knowing yourself as a creator. And most importantly, this is you knowing yourself as worthy exactly as you are. There is nothing that needs to change in order for you to be any more worthy. There's nothing you need to avoid in order for you to be any more worthy. So enjoy that feeling for a moment or two longer, and with absolutely no rush, begin returning your attention to your body. So noticing your fingers and toes, perhaps giving them a little wiggle, maybe just have a little stretch. Allow your breathing to settle. Notice the rise and fall of your chest and your stomach. Notice the feeling of your face, your eyelids, and slowly and gently allow your eyelids to flick open and return to the room. How are you feeling? So that was a 2-in-1 meditation, and you can actually split it apart. So you could do the part with the golden circles where you see yourself going into the future, like desired state, current reality and then noticing what needs to happen between the two and noticing those actions. And if you've got some actions in your mind now that you want to make sure that you remember, by all means, pause this video. We are nearly done, but pause the video and write them down. So that's half of the meditation, and that bit can be done as a standalone. The second bit, the noticing the discomfort, the processing of the discomfort, again, that can be done as a standalone. So if you're about to do the thing and you're feeling the discomfort and it's really making you not want to do it, you can do that processing of emotion there and then. It will take you about 5 minutes to do it. And actually, it's something that I recommend that people do in the morning. So when I was going through my most significant shifts when it came to personal growth, I set my alarm 10 minutes early every morning for about a month. And I just sat up in bed. So when you first wake up in the morning, your brain waves are in what's called the alpha brainwave state, and that is when your subconscious mind is at its most receptive. So when it's like that, that's a really good time to do some energetic work on yourself. And I spent that time, so those 10 minutes in the morning before I even got out of bed, just sit up in bed and I would just go into my body. Sometimes I'd just go straight into like what feels uncomfortable, and other times I would go to the goal in mind first and then feel into what felt uncomfortable about that. Because it's normal. It's normal for that discomfort to be there, right? And if we want growth, if we want to achieve things in our life, then we need to be willing to work through the discomfort. Just in the same way, if I was wanting to physically build my muscles, I would have to be willing to do the physical, uncomfortable training that's going to make that happen. So that time spent in the morning, at 10 minutes, go in, find the discomfort. The discomfort is the portal for growth. And then breathing into that emotion, doing that processing, seeing the attributes of that emotion change and shift. And sometimes in the process of doing that, things will come up, like ideas will come up. Oh, I need to do this. Or I'd get a really clear, like intuitive nudge on the next course of action to take for my business. Because this for me was all connected with what I'm doing in my business. So as I said, you can do those two meditations as a standalone, but you can, of course, group them together in the same way that we have done today. And I would recommend that you do come back and redo this meditation, several times. Like anytime that what we're trying to achieve changes, doesn't it? And what our current reality is changes as well. So of course, the actions between the two are going to change too. So it's more than worth a while to repeat that part of the meditation as well. And then the discomfort processing, like daily, would be perfect. If you don't have time to do it daily, then like as often as you can, I would really, really highly recommend it. So I hope you found that useful. If you want to share in the comments what came up for you and what action you know you need to take, or just like anything that you found helpful about it, then please do. It'd be lovely to get your feedback. That's it from me for now, and take care, and I look forward to seeing you soon.